Today is the World Day of Social Justice, and the theme for this year is Bridging Gaps, Building Alliances. It is an annual event organized by the United Nations since November 26, 2007. The World Day of Social Justice has been celebrated every 20th of February. Each year recognizes a different theme, but the focus is always on how social justice reduces poverty, strengthens equality, and promotes fairness. Fairness in this context means equal access for all to the same standards of education, employment, healthcare, and more. Everyone should have equal access to the same standards of these things, regardless of how their race, religion, gender, or class. Viewers, we will be talking about the World Day of Social Justice on today's episode of Now Streaming and how we can come together to tackle issues which are the inequalities that have risen from conflict and how we can bridge the gaps and build more alliances. I am Adeshewa Orioye, your anchor for today. And with me in the studio is Barrister Thy Word Nandi. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. He's a legal practitioner. On today's Now Streaming, we'll be discussing the World Day of Social Justice, and we'll be focusing on the theme for this year, which says Bridging Gaps, Building Alliances. Well, we still have our guests in the studio. With me is Barrister Thy Word Nadi, a legal practitioner. Now, when I read about the social justice, there are lots of questions that that came to my mind, and I am sure you have some answers because I'm sure our viewers will have one or two questions. And like I said earlier, viewers, it's delightful to hear your opinions and also read your comments. I would love to hear from you. We want to know if Nigeria should be among those countries to celebrate social justice, because when I had this research on the whole thing, I was like, in Nigeria, and we have a research. Well, anyways, before we come to that, I want to ask you, Barrister, why is World Day Social Justice celebrated?
Of course, the answer is not far-fetched.
Mm.
Why it is celebrated all over the world is the fact that you cannot remove social justice from humanity. Because without social justice, humanity itself will be an unbearable place for humans in the world, whether in the micro society, the macro society, or anywhere around the world. That is why social justice is an inalienable feature that cannot be taken away from humanity. Let me even go further. That is why we have the United Nations Charter on Human Rights that came into force 1945 and 1948 respectively, particularly 10th of December 1948, which accorded human rights, inalienable rights to humans by virtue of the fact that they are humans. So you cannot talk about humanity without talking about social justice. Where there is no social justice, then there is no humanity. That is why it is celebrated all over the world.
There's a question that is itching me, but I'm suppressing it. There's a question that is itching me. I'm suppressing it because I don't know if I should ask it. Anyways, I'll come back to that. And the World Day social justice is actually significant because it highlights the importance of social justice for everyone. It is an opportunity to emphasize the need to build a more just and inclusive world where everyone has the opportunity to reach their full potential. Is Nigeria among those countries? That's the question.
Okay, I
Is
think
Nigeria...
I will answer the question.
Okay.
There are two kinds of rights, or of course, that gives us social justice. We have, in 1999 Constitution, we have under Chapter 2, what we call the fundamental objective and directive principles of state policy, which can be termed in a layman language, socio-economic rights. And then we have what we call fundamental rights under Chapter 4 of the Constitution. Now, under Chapter 2, it is non-justiciable. What do I mean? Yes, it is the fundamental objective, what the government ought to do. Your right to health, right to good standard of living, your right to education, and all that. However, you cannot enforce it if the government fails to do it, because the Constitution itself makes it unenforceable. You cannot sue to enforce it. The Constitution by its provision has made it is unenforceable. Yeah. Yes, the government ought to do this. This is the fundamental objective. But when they fail to do it, can you do anything about it? The answer is no. That is what the Constitution says. However, under Chapter 4, which are rights that can be termed the inalienable rights, these are the ones that are enforceable. Your right to life, your freedom of movement, right to privacy, and all that. Freedom of religion, expression, and right to liberty, and all that. So, however, in other climates or other countries of the world, socio-economic rights are enforceable. It is your right to demand for good standard of living. It is your right to demand for education. It is your right to have a good standard healthcare system. So the Constitution itself has provided for such. So where do we go from here? So are we to amend the Constitution to make this enforceable? And if you know what the consequences when you say this is enforceable, that means there will be so much suits against government in order to enforce this. You know, I can remember there is in India there was a case we were taught when I was in university. You know, the case of Olga Tellis against Bombay Municipal Corporation that took place in India, where the citizens they were chased or evicted from the slums where they were staying, the downtrodden, and then they went to court. Say, oh, you cannot evict us from our slums without relocating us to a better place. And mind you, India has similar constitution with ours as at then. Now, what did the Supreme Court of India say over the matter? It said to the government, no, you cannot take away, when you take away their right to source of livelihood, indirectly, you've taken away their right to life. Because there cannot be life without a source of livelihood. What is life without a source of livelihood? That means, invariably, there is a threat to their life because their source of livelihood is already threatened. So if we can come to that reality that there should be a nexus, interdependence between Chapter 2 and Chapter 4 to make Chapter 2 of the Constitution enforceable, then it makes it easy. However, to an extent, there are other provisions of the law that gives room for protection or social justice practices. For instance, we have what we call the Human Rights Act, which gave room to the National Human Rights Commission. We have what we call International Convention for discrimination, for elimination of discrimination against women, all forms of discrimination against women. We have International Convention of against this, from discrimination against disabled persons, to protect disabled persons as well as the child rights. And these have been domesticated into our laws today.
Even in Nigeria?
Yes, they have been domesticated because the Constitution says you cannot domesticate any treaty or international convention cannot be applicable directly except domesticated. Section 12 of the Constitution. So the National Assembly have domesticated this by reenacting it as act. That's why by virtue, let's for instance, that of the disabled persons, the law that protects disabled persons, says in facilities there should be accommodation for disabled persons. That's why when you check most facilities, you see a pavement for those that are that are on wheelchair. Yes. These are what this act
expected.
Yes, has come to play the role. You talk about their equality in the society. They have the right to vote, right to education. However, we should make it more practicable. So it's not enough to enact the act. Let's make it more practicable. Let it be. visible, let it be seen, let it be more proactive, let there be more proactiveness in carrying out these said acts, so that they can, when they go to government, government establishment, let's see the disabled persons there walking, let's see a blind man there, let's see someone on crutches or wheelchair walking,
which is normal.
which is
They're
normal.
humans.
They're humans. Let them vote. Let them, in fact, let them not just vote. Let them also contest for elections. They are human. That is where the equality should play.
All right. The team emphasizes the importance of collaborations and partnership to address the challenges facing our world today. It also highlights the need to promote social inclusion and cohesion to combat discrimination, just like you mentioned, and inequality. It is an embodiment of creating an opportunity to build a better world for everybody, not for some set of people, for everyone. Now, I want to ask you, what can you say about the theme for this year? We know that it is about bridging gaps and building alliances. What can you say?
Bridging gap and building alliances. Yes, there should be we should bridge the gaps between the fortunate and the unfortunate, the privileged and the less privileged, the vulnerable and the non-vulnerable, the rich and the poor. There should be equal accessibility, privileges, fairness, opportunity to them. For instance, those that their human rights are violated, most of them don't even have money to consult a lawyer and go to court. So the government should intervene. That is why we have what we call the legal aid, that came into force, portions of the Legal Aid Act, wherein, they can give you lawyers free of charge to do matter for you, especially if it is criminal trial. Then if it has to do with human rights violation, we have the National Human Rights Commission. These are the things the government on its own are doing to ensure that the gap is being bridged, because a rich man can afford the service of a lawyer, but a poor man whose right is breached, when the lawyer tells him how much he charges, he will say, I will leave it to God, I don't have money.
Yes.
So
in Nigeria, we leave a lot of cases to God.
So there should be, the gap should be bridged between the less privileged, the privileged, the fortunate and the unfortunate, and that's all.
Right. Anyways, Nigeria ranks as low. It ranks low in social justice, and just like we've been discussing, it currently measures like 158 out of 190 countries with a score of 0.534, whereas 1 is the perfect score. We are not even up to 1 when it comes to, like I said, I was itching to ask questions because it shows that we don't practice social justice in this part of the world. And this reflects the state of the Nigerian social justice system, with so many vices and social injustice and inequality practices, and all we can keep listing more and more, but this I'll keep that aside. I want to hear from you viewers. I don't know if you're familiar with social justice or why it is being celebrated today, but I will love to hear from you, hear your opinion. Hope this is educative enough for you to grasp one or two from this show, because it is going to help. Everyone needs to educate his or herself with your right, with your human right, and social justice is one of it. Yes, you might not have the money for some of these things, but just like Barrister says, the government has these implementations for pro bonus, right?
Yes, you
and human rights. So how come we are not using that? I guess it is maybe we need more sensitization, more awareness. So viewers, please feel free to call, ask questions. We have somebody here who will give you the accurate answer. So, and you can send in your comments via our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and call the number showing on your screen. Now, to continue, what are the examples of social justice in our country that you can mention? Social justice, yes.
Of course, like I did mention, the National Human Rights Commission,
yes,
ensuring that the fundamental rights of citizens are protected. The legal aid, ensuring that those who can, the indigent members of the society, can afford the services of lawyers. Then we talk about the Minimum Wage Act, ensuring that the salaries of persons should not be below this cadre.
This card. Okay.
Then we've talked about the disabled persons, the act that have been ratified by Nigeria, which was further reenacted by the National Assembly to ensure that disabled persons are given equal opportunity in the society, either in the workplace, establishments, to ensure that they accommodate them, their voting rights, access to equalities and opportunities.
And they are working effectively.
They are working effectively.
There is no segregation, because
no segregation.
one thing that is at the back of Nigerian names to me is there's this, after you deal with ethnicity, there's classism, there's there's a lot of things. There's a lot of vices. So, and it is working very well.
Yes, it is. And then that of discrimination against women, all forms of discrimination against women, the acts that have been enacted by the National Assembly. So for women to have same equal rights to contest election, equal rights to positions in offices, to same thing that is accruing to a man should also be accruing to a woman. There should not be any form of discrimination. And in fact, the Constitution itself also provides that you have the right not to be discriminated against.
Yes.
So they are in tandem. The only thing is that most persons don't know that there's a resistance of these laws. So one, we need to start with sensitization and awareness. That is one. And two, if you don't know how to exercise this right, you have the National Human Rights Commission, which you can go to. We have even the Public Complaints Commission. And good thing, most non-governmental organizations are also spiraling out, speaking out, and carrying out these burdens on themselves. Even today, we have the Human Rights Radio in Abuja and some other NGOs that are really trying their best to see that social justice is being practicalized, dispensed without fear or favor. So all we need to do is to, one, create awareness. That is one. Two, ensure that there is accessibility to those who can assist in making this social justice work.
All right, viewers, can you hear that? I believe God has a lot of matters to solve. So instead of you, yes, God is going to deal with them. But at the site of injustice, we have government and non-government organizations that this is their work. They want to fight for you. They want to give you voice. They want to fight for you. What they are seeking for is fairness. They are seeking for equality. So instead of you to practice, God has a lot He's attending on His table right now. So channel this power into this. We need more awareness, and that is why topics like this are being discussed here on this show, for you to be aware and be educated about this. So tomorrow, you know that you've learned something like this, because a lot of people's issue is not being aware about some of this. They'll be like, it's only for the rich, and that is a lot of completion. God will fight for me. No, we can put some of this into practices, and even because it's a two-way street. You as the government is trying to implement some, you tell them that, okay, I am ready to use this, and if it is not going well, you still voice out that this that you guys have implemented is not working well. Moving on with all the social justice issue we face today in the country, can we say that injustice has remained the root cause of most of the problems in Nigeria, or what Nigerians are going through presently?
It's part of it, but not only it. Yes, to an extent, there are injustice, which you can see. However, it is not enough that these injustices are there. Are you exercising your rights to ensure that the violators or the perpetrators of this injustice are brought to book?
Well, I feel by the time you meet somebody and the person says, do you know who I am? And I'm going to call. I feel even if you have a voice, you might should, because there is oppression, there is classism that I said, there is nepotism, there is sentiment and this biasness, there is tribalism, there is a lot of these things. And if you don't have what it takes now, the boldness or the courage to be able to speak at the face of somebody telling you, do you know who I am? And is possibly calling a commissioner or some soldiers. You know how it works in Nigeria.
Yes, of course. We're not disputing the fact that this could happen. However, you need to take the bold step. Like I said before, there are NGOs, there are organizations that fight for human rights. They will seek to the end of it to ensure that you get justice. So it is not enough. Why not do your best and let's see that the best did not work out? Why not take the bold step to meet those NGOs, the organizations? And there are even lawyers that also take up pro bono cases. Yes, there are lawyers that take up pro bono cases too. Yes, because they are humans too. They can see the nature of the incidents, and they are human beings. You know, they will sympathize with you and say, no, for this to happen, no, I will take up this case. So take that bold step. It is not enough to lament that, oh, I don't have anybody. Oh, this person is more powerful than me. Have you taken the bold step to meet some persons, the non-governmental organizations that are into fighting, for human rights? So have you taken those bold steps? Let it not be that you took the steps and it did not work out. So it is not enough to assume that no, you can't be able to fight because you don't have anybody. Take the bold steps.
All right. I have a comment here. It says 90 to 98% of those in government and the judiciary are corrupt. How can there be justice in Nigeria today? It's just like Israel in the days of Amos. How can you join the world to celebrate? I had that question in mind also. I had that comment also in mind, but Barrister Nade has told us that yes, we can actually join the world to celebrate because there are platforms which your voice can be heard. Yes, it doesn't happen overnight. We know a lot of vices, a lot of oppressions is going on. There are a lot of suppressions. Your voice is not heard. It's only in the developed country that you have this voice to speak. But also in Nigeria, if you check, times are changing. We have a lot of NGOs. We have a lot of human rights. We listen to one every morning, which they go there in their numbers to speak. So it does not stop you from speaking. Please just speak up. And this will make me to ask this question. What he said is, are you in support of the notion of some Nigerians that they say there is a big gap between the masses and the law, just like the commentator said? So let me ask, when it comes to social justice and how can we bridge this gap and build alliances in few seconds, if you can?
Like I said before, most persons don't know that there existence of certain laws that protect their rights. And secondly, they don't have the wherewithal, that is the financial strength to ensure that they protect their rights. So one, like I said before, ensure there is sensitization. We need more sensitization, both from the government and non-governmental organizations. Two, while sensitizing them, also let them know the way they can exercise this right. Let them come forward, speak up. There are platforms that can take up pro bono cases, fight for them, ensure that their right is being given to them. So that is all. So yes, there is, if you are not aware, because you can't really know all the law. They are not lawyers.
Yes.
Even lawyers don't know all the law, but they know where to find the law. So that is the position of things.
Anyways, I have another comment here. It says, as far as I am concerned, no justice in Nigeria. He that has the largest cash that wins cases. We have lost trust in Nigeria judiciary. That's actually sad. And the same thing went through my mind. I won't say I can relate to this but I feel there's changes. And change also starts with us also. Just like you said, we just have to use this channel appropriately, and we have to be adamant that I need to get justice for this injustice that was served to me, irrespective of what is going to happen. But a lot of Nigerians, they want to save their face. They don't want to die. They'll say, okay, let me leave it. That's where the living, I surrender and leaving it for God to comes in. So amid all the crises and wars, we still commemorate World Day of Social Justice. What is your message to the government and the general public at large in creating awareness for justice?
The government should ensure that social justice is not only held in the law, but it should be implemented. Proactive measures should be taken. Let them put it into practice so that everybody will enjoy social justice, equality, fairness, access to opportunities, privileges, both job employment. It shouldn't be, sidelined because we are a country of, we have multilateral ethnicity, religion, and all that. And then to the society, ensure you voice out. So don't just say, oh, I don't have the power to fight the well without voice out. There are platforms, there are people that can take up this pro bono for you to fight for your justice.
And like I would say change begins with you. It's that simple. It's that simple. Just know these are no peace. You just have to take actions in your community. You don't have to have money to fight. We've seen cases where justice came for the poor, and or somebody that does not have a voice, actually with backing of people around this person. Anyways, Barrister, I thank you so much for. I've learned a lot from you, and I'm sure our viewers that are watching, they've learned a lot also. And just like he rightly said, use your voice. Don't let anyone suppress it. It is very, very important. We can't say because of we are not going to be heard, so we just have to keep short. It is not possible. Social justice aims to help us recognize that despite all the progress we have made as human beings, there are still many barriers or factors that prevent millions of people from living a fair life. That the goal of social justice is to end discrimination and achieve equality. Everybody should be able to access opportunities, participate equally in the society, and have their human rights respected and their voices not taken away. We can hear they are trying to regulate the social media. Well, don't take our voices away. Viewers, sorry, viewers, this is where we draw the curtain on today's morning show. Thank you for being part of the program. Let's do this again, same time, same station tomorrow. Stay safe and remain blessed. I am Adishewa Orioye. Bye for now.